I've known Ray for 50 years. That's how old I am. And the night before he passed, I was laying there in bed and thinking all the things I'd learned from Ray Bills. And so I thought, okay, I'm going to write this down. So I wrote it all down. And I made the mistake of sharing it with a couple of people who then said, oh, you have to share that at the funeral. I wrote. But as I was laying there in bed that night, I was thinking about Lehi's dream. And I was thinking about the tree and the rod of iron and the path. But in this dream, it wasn't Lehi, it was Ray leading his family along. And that rod was not iron, because iron's kind of cold and ugly. It was made from 3 braided strands of beautiful metals, gold and silver and bronze, all braided together really tight. And Ray's hand was on it, and he was walking that straight and narrow path. And it came to me that those 3 braided strands of metal together were the 3 great loves of Ray's life. Gold for his love of his God and his church, silver for his love of his family, and bronze for his love of his country. And his duty, he thought, to lead us back to Christ by never letting go of those 3 braided strands together. Well, that love of God was taught to me about 50 years ago when I came to visit Ray's family in Utah. Number 2 son and I were dating. We were very serious, and we were 16. No, we turned 17. And I swear, I didn't know now, but I can hear it. Mary G going, Raymond, go talk to those kids before they do something really dumb. Because we were very, very serious. And we weren't even through high school. So he grabs us and he goes, come here. He said, come out to the porch. And he sat us down and he wanted to talk to us. And think how worried he must have been. His 17-year-old son dating this crazy born-again evangelical. And we were really, really, really serious. And he didn't know how this was going to go. And so he sat us down and he never used a lot of words, but he said, I don't know a lot of things, but I know one thing. Follow the prophet. I went, okay. I didn't know what that meant at that time. I didn't understand completely, but I knew he loved us, and I knew I'd heard something very, very, very profound. And since then, I've learned to follow the prophet. He won't go astray. His love and doing something hard, teaching his son, who at times was a little rebellious. We know Kent sometimes was a little rebellious. He knew that prophets know more than we do and see more clearly than we do. And so when we're wallowing around in the trenches of life, they stand on the watchtower and point the way to Christ. And so he never lost that love of God and love of his church and love of his Savior, because he followed them as close to the Savior as he could get. Later on, that love of God would let him serve in the South Jordan Temple, one of his greatest loves of his life. But because of his duty and his deep sense of duty, when a leader told him to do something, he did it. Colonel Bills was used to giving orders, he used to taking orders. And so he had to let go of that service in the temple to take care of Mary Jo, who had had a stroke. The temple president said, Ray, go home and take care of your wife. So he did, and he never looked back. His duty was clear, the path was laid out, and he moved forward. That final service to Mary Jo exemplified his second great love in life, his love of family. His duty to his family led him to work long hours as a teenage father, at hard jobs to provide. It led him to extend his learning outside of Little Riverton, where not too many people went to school, and graduate school, and to pursue this education that would lead him all over the world. But it wasn't his education that taught me the most, although we learned a lot when we went to clean out his apartment after his passing. A little white table that we had put in there, and there was his open scriptures, carefully marked, his conference edition, carefully marked, and the notes he tried to take, even as Alzheimer's was taking his abilities. That wasn't what taught me the most about him. What I learned from Ray about family is that you can be present even when you're not present. Some of you know this story. He used to make reel-to-reel tapes of stories while he was in Vietnam and send them home to the boys so they could hear his voice. Later on, Kent would do the same thing. When he was away on military duty or had to be gone, he would call in for family prayer. I learned from Ray, you're never too old to have fun with your family. You can play kickball, you can play football after the work's done, because remember, we all work till the work's all done. And I've never been around parents who actively played with their kids. So having a dad-in-law who played with children was so cool. Because of his example, each of his sons has found ways to actively and fully connect with their kids, either through music or through rockets, or sometimes playing football with nephews that results in a trip to the emergency room, or playing The Floor is Lava with the grandkids. That example was so firmly embedded in his sons, I just sit and watch them as they play with their children and their grandchildren. And Ray never lost that sense of contentment. I learned from him to be content with the families he created and the stage of life he was in. In his last months, he would sit peacefully in one of our houses, and all the grandkids who had kids noticed, he would sit there, and it would be chaos. The little kids toddling around, the big kids talking to him about their dreams, their dates, whatever, and he just had a smile and a gorgeous face about he loved being around his family. Okay, in the last hours before he joined Mary Jo, we all were in there. Many of us were in there, and he had a smile for everybody. He reached out for the baby, for Ken and Tasha's little baby, and he loved his family so much. I wish we could have seen through the veil, because I'm sure that as hard as it was for us to let him go, they were having a party as he came home to Mary Jo and to all of his family members that were there. But the third strand, because of Silver with love of family, that bronze strand in that shiny rod that he never let go of was his love of country. He believed that his service to the country was everything as sacred as a calling from an ecclesiastical leader, and he served with all his heart. He was deployed. He went to the Pentagon, bless his heart. He went where he was called. Wherever he would go. And even sometimes when he was faced with the opportunity to take a service that would take him more away from his wife and her family, again, he chose her. He never looked back. But that patriotism was so evident that he's had sons and grandsons put on the uniform and take the oath to support their country. And even for those who didn't choose uniform service, they have become leaders in their families who relentlessly always try to make the world a better place. I learned from Ray, as you walk that path of duty, it never is a straight and easy path. It goes through valleys, it goes through steep hills, but as long as you never lose sight of the Savior and that goal, you can be content. Like in Philippians, I have learned in whatsoever state I am, therewith to be content. That was Ray's life. He taught me never to lose the wonder for the world. On the video out here, you'll see him walking with his walker and with my grandson and with Kent up on Mount Nebo. And he's pointing out trees. He didn't have a lot of speech, but he remembered his beloved plants. And he had great wonder for them. He said he found joy in every phase of his life, in contentment. And I learned from him, and that's hard for me, but that's what we have to be. I want to be like Ray. I'm going to miss him. I love him so much. But I'm going to be grateful for the 50 years you taught me how to hold to that rod, to love my family, to love my country, and to love my God. He showed us how to walk the path back to Jesus, holding on to his Mary Jo's hand. So as I hold Kent's hand and my kids roll around me, I look for that day when we are all back together again, because he showed us how to do this.